the maracas, I go chick, chicky, boom, chick, chicky, boom. Hey!
Welcome to No Laughing Matter with Cuba Pete, a show that takes a critical look at the disparities between medical school education and society's growing healthcare inequities. Join Dr. Pedro Cuba Pete Greer each episode as he interviews the experts working to transform medical education and ensuring that future doctors are trained to provide equitable and compassionate healthcare for all communities. Dr. Greer received the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2009, honoring his dedication to providing health care to underserved populations. As Dean of Roseman University College of Medicine in Las Vegas, Dr. Greer is committed to creating a medical school of the future where students embrace the need to unite the heart and science of healthcare. And now, the host of No Laughing Matter with Cuba Pete, Dr. Pedro Cuba Pete Greer.
Well, good day, everybody. I'm Pedro Jose Greer. They call me Joe. I'm the dean at Roseman University College of Medicine, of which, by the way, our first class begins July 21st. We're the newest medical school in the country, and we are completely community dependent. This is Cuba Pete, No Laughing Matter, and we talk about the interaction of society with healthcare and the interaction of society with how do I train my future physicians to be where they need to be. Why do we need to get Nevadans to come to medical school? They stay. Why do we need diversity in the class? Because it improves health outcomes. It's that simple, and it's the right thing to do. Well, sometimes we get great people, and sometimes we get people that are just off the wall great. I have the great honor, and I have just met him, although he's very familiar with our team and all that, Mr. Wendell P Williams, and we'll get back to that name in a little while, okay? He's from St. Joseph, Louisiana. He studied at Southern University. He was a Omega Psi Phi there, weren't you?
Right.
And he came to Las Vegas as an educator and a community organizer. And let me just tell you what he's done. Not saying he's a great educator, but he did receive the Crystal Apple Award from the National Education Association, which happens to be their highest award for teaching. He also has the Mary McCloud Bethune Award from the NAACP. And I know that because she's a Florida lady.
Right.
You know.
Exactly.
So I know the importance of that. She's also got a school named after her. And some other guy named Cookman. But that's another story. In 1987, he became the first educator teacher ever elected in the entire state of Nevada to the legislature. And in his first year, this is a man with a mission. He had bills that got 2 paid state holidays, Family Day, and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King state holiday. This was in 1987 to 88, correct? That means that there was no holiday for Martin Luther King prior to that celebrated here, correct?
Right.
Wow. He's a member of the Masons, the Order of the Elks, and as I mentioned earlier, Omega Psi Phi. He was a columnist for the Las Vegas Sentinel Voice newspaper, the founder of the Power 88 radio first community affairs talk show, and still going on.
Still going today.
And they haven't changed the name that he created that show. In 2002, the very first 2-story elementary school building was named the Wendell Philip Williams Elementary School. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now there's 2 Wendell Phillips schools.
Right. Exactly.
One has 3 names, so that's yours. And in 1981, he founded the Martin Luther King Jr. Community Organization and Parade. The first year in 1981, you had 13
entries.
Now it's a 10-day, and it's the largest Reverend Martin Luther King holiday or parade in the country, correct?
It is.
Wow. So besides that, and the fact that he devoted his life to education, Mr. Williams, tell me about your family. How many generations of...
5 generations of teachers. My grandmother, which is the smartest person I ever knew, who couldn't read and write, She lived to be 117 years old.
Oh my goodness.
And walked to church every Sunday. And it's a funny thing. She said, I used to go by and read her mail to her and stuff like that. So at one point, I was out on her porch, and I had all my friends around, and I was telling them, I was the man. I could do this. I can do that. I can do everything. And she's inside, so she's listening. And when my friends left, she called me in and she said, "Look, don't be talking about what you can do. You're so great." And she said, "Mr. Say ain't nothing. Mr. Do's a real man." She said, "You got nothing to do."
I love it.
So she taught me a poem at that time concerning Mr. Say ain't nothing. Mr. Do's a real man. And she couldn't read or write. So, being a young kid, taking it slick. So I used to sometimes read her mail, and I would change the wording. She'd also have me, she would write her letter she was sending out, and I'd try to change it, which I thought was a correct way to write it. And she knew. So she made me learn this poem, and I thought she really didn't know precisely every word, every phrase of it. And it's the only poem that I remember still today. I mean, I can recite it at a heartbeat. It's about Mr. Say ain't nothing, Mr. Do is a real man. So we went. I'd rather see a sermon than to hear one any day. I'd rather that you walk with me than just to show the way. So the eye is a better pupil and more willing than the ear. Advices can be misleading, but examples are always clear. And the very best of teachers are the ones who live their creed. To see good put into action is what everybody needs. I can soon learn to do it if you let me see it done. I can watch your hands in motion because your tongue too fast may run. And the very best of teachers are the ones that live their creed. To put good into action, that's what everybody needs. And, she said, when you finish it, every time, say, Mr. Say ain't nothing, Mr. Do's a real man. And I send a message to every kid I know today. You got to be, you can't talk the talk without walking the walk. So anyway,
How lucky is Las Vegas to have not just an educator, but an educator that understands community, that has the right virtues, the character that you have, what your grandmother has instilled in you. And by the way, your parents did a great job too.
Yeah.
The
my mother was a teacher. She taught in a one-room schoolhouse. She had students from 6 to 40 years old in one room.
oh really?
Made $27 a month. But we always been teachers all my whole life. My brother was a teacher here in Vegas as well.
Tell me about the origin of your name.
So Wendell Phillips was a slave abolitionist, and I didn't really know that. There's a school in Chicago, Wendell Phillips Academy, and my mother, who in 1949 heard about the school, caught the bus. She saved her $27 a month, caught the bus, and went all the way to Chicago to see the school, and was so impressed with it. So she was pregnant with me at the time, so I became Wendell Phillips Williams. But I knew that story, but I didn't really know all the facts because before she passed away. So one night I was on the internet just doing some research. Sam Cooke's name came up. Sam Cooke went to Wendell Phillips, Sarah Bond, John Johnson, the list goes on and on. Nat King Cole, all these folks went to Wendell Phillips. And the high school basketball team won the state championship that year. Guy comes from New York, get those kids, take them to New York. They became the Harlem Globetrotters. And it was an amazing story. And I knew a little bit about it, but not enough. Wendell Phillips was a friend of Frederick Douglass. If you look at Frederick Douglass's books, Wendell Phillips writes the introductions in his book. So I knew that story, but I didn't know all of it. So my daughter gave me a trip about 4 years ago to visit the school. And I had been to Chicago twice and had never visited Wendell Phillips. So it was so ironic. My principal at my school here called me when I was in Chicago. She said, we're refreshing the name on the school. How do you want it? So I would never tell people what the P was for. I'm like, if I tell you that, I got to kill you. Saying stupid stuff, So when I knew that story, when I found out that story, I said, oh, you put Wendell Phillips Williams High School. So we went to Chicago. I told the principal the story. He's like, our kids got to know this. And I said, there's a Wendell Phillips Williams school in Las Vegas. So long story short, his kids made a trip to Las Vegas.
Oh, wow.
And our kids went to Chicago to visit the school. And it's a phenomenal school, and it's still going strong today.
You know, the core of a society and the future of a society depends not just on parenting, but on education and preparing a child, not just for book knowledge, but the importance of what being a citizen and a member of the society is and how to do the things correctly. In your career, your storied career, your incredibly accomplished career, tell me what the highlight is.
Ooh, it's so many. I really couldn't say, because some highlights, some may think that they're very small, but to me and the people involved in them was really big. You know, I spent 13 days with Coretta Scott King. We
Oh,
spent
wow. Did you
spent
really?
13 days. I worked with her on trying to get the national holiday. And so we did this tour on the West Coast. So she gave me Dr. King's personal Bible, gave me the suits he wore and the overalls they wore with the marshes. And she also gave me his handwritten acceptance speech when he won the Nobel Peace Prize. So, I mean, so I'm still close to the family today. But there's people who sometime would call me as a legislator and say, look, I got a big concern. It's the biggest concern in life, but I might see it as a small one. And to get those things accomplished for them, it's still a highlight. It's hard to say. You know, it's passing the Martin Luther King holiday, my first freshman session, was a big thing for me. And there's a lot of things that I do and have done, which the story's still being told, I guess. I'm still out here.
Oh, yeah.
So this is my 44th year coming up with the King holiday, with the MLK Parade.
Oh, wow.
It's now gone from 13 entries, as you mentioned in the first one. We had 244 last year.
And one for the last 5 years has been the Roseman University College of Medicine.
Right. I had a real good experience with Roseman. I met some of the representatives, and the thing I like about doing the parade is people talk about the numbers, how big it is, but for me, the important thing is to have it inclusive of the whole community.
Right.
And Roseman has been one. They reached out, and I'm like, you guys will always have a place in the parade where you want to, because people they want to have a special spot, but people people ask me all kind of questions. How can I be in the front? If you look at that picture with the March on Washington in 1963, you would have loved to have been back there as a little bitty ant-sized person with that thing. So it's not. It's actually about King. It's not about us.
And you know that Dr. Luther Brewster worked for many, many years for John Lewis.
There.
And when he was working in Atlanta, and he's the one that runs the Genesis program and that whole office here. So,
but we do now about 10 days of activities.
I was reading about that.
Yeah, and one of the things that we do a technology summit. Last year we had 650 kids at our technology summit. It runs year round, so anyone who wants to go into technology, it's no charge. Become certified, trained, and employed. We have jobs already waiting, and we have a grant from the Department of Labor. We can do it nationwide.
Fantastic. So, and if somebody wants to help out with the parade, how do they get in contact with you or the organization?
Well, they go to kingweeklasvegas.com. King Week Las Vegas is all one word, and everybody in the nation has my cell phone number, so it's 702-498-5888. I love to have people work with us.
And that's to work with them. And I'm going to say this also: send them money.
Yeah.
Okay. They're all organizations, and particularly now in things that are not for profit. And this is a part of our history that is essential.
Yeah.
And this is not something that we could forget.
Yeah. And one final thing about that, there had been attempts to pass the King holiday prior to me going to the legislature, and people talked about King as finishing high school at 15, college at 19, youngest person to receive, but that really didn't resonate. So I had a friend of mine that worked at the Union Plaza Hotel downtown, and she said to me that, do you know Las Vegas is raising their hotel rates $10 on a holiday that we don't have? There's people are spending money on cabs, shows. People in California, they had the holiday, so they were coming out to Las Vegas. So we were making money off a holiday that we really didn't have. So my thing was, do we really want to be like Arizona? Arizona had just canceled the Beatles reunion tour. They canceled the Super Bowl that year. They canceled Luther Vandross. So it's an economic thing. I took that position, and now it comes back around. Last year, the Las Vegas Convention Authority streamed the parade to 12 million people. So now they're coming in saying we want to help promote promote it as a 3-day weekend. It always comes around. It's an economic factor. We want to make Las Vegas a better place to live. We all don't have to go out together, but we have to respect each other. And that's what we want to do. There's so much turbulence and uncertainty in the world today. We want to be the voice that says we can all get along.
Yes. That is such an important thing to say, especially in these times that we're going through. And this anger that exists in our community is just, we have to get beyond that. We are, above all, sitting in the same boat, folks.
Yeah.
And, you know, for those of you, I'm a water guy, so I was born on an island anyways, but when you have a lot of people in the boat, one person can tip that boat over.
Right.
But all of them working together can make it, surely can make it to shore without a problem.
Right.
And I think what you have done, the lessons in your life are lessons that we each have to learn. I, as a dean and an educator, you know, I look up to you, to what you've done. And I'm going to ask you, what can we do here at the medical school to make a difference, to make our doctors have the same character and virtues that you have? And we are implementing a character-based curriculum, but we got to get back to that.
Yeah, you know, one of your representatives came out to my school about 2 years ago, and she said something that I'd never heard before. She said, our university, Roseman, is looking to individualize with families. We want to go into the home. We want to do things in the home. And I had never heard anybody.
Dr. Brewster was the one that designed that program.
Okay.
And the challenge that we did this almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting with Lou, and he's not an MD, he's a PhD.
Okay.
And he did his postdocs at the University of London. And he'll also tell you his undergraduate was at Morehouse, because he's going to tell you that that's the first thing that comes out of his mouth.
Right, right.
And the question that we asked was, how do we get to the poorest, sickest patient before they show up at the clinic?
Exactly.
Because A, they don't have insurance, or they might be hourly workers, which means they don't have benefits. And so Lou came up with this idea that, well, if you're a pregnant woman and you're not showing up to your prenatal care, how do we get a hold of her?
Right.
He said, well, let's go talk to all the NGOs, all the little mom and pop shops, the schools, even the police. And if they see somebody, have them call us and our team will go to their house.
I love that.
And then we call it household-centered care, because we address and mitigate the social determinants of health. And people go, well, why are you in that lane? Because it causes disease.
Yeah.
And our job, that's our job. You know, people will tell me things like, stay in your lane with gun safety. I said, well, it's in my lane. They got shot and they showed up in the emergency room.
Exactly.
You know, that's not my lane.
Yeah.
And so what we do is the students are going to be responsible for 1 to 2 of these households for 4 years.
Right.
They're going to have to, because if I'm developing physicians, and let's be honest, we're a bit elitist, just a lot elitist. And so these kids that come in are generally children of professionals that can never understand how a family of 5 could live with the same amount of money it costs for their tuition.
Right.
I mean, that's but then we're going to require them to take care of them.
Yeah.
What are they going to do? Give them a piece of paper for their diabetes?
Right.
And they can't afford all the foods on there?
Exactly.
And not somebody instructing So and as we explain, listen, diabetes is diabetes, but if you have diabetes and you're the CEO of a company, it's very different than if you have diabetes and you're living in the tunnels.
Exactly.
You know?
But, you know, to reverse that question, I'd rather ask, how could I help you? Because when I heard about that, I'm like, and my wife's a social worker.
Oh.
She says, great. How can we interject our situation?
Well, the first thing I'm going to say right now.
Yeah.
Get me your CV.
Okay.
Because I'm going to make you a faculty member of our university. Okay?
Okay.
As a matter of fact, one of the things that we do, the faculty appointments we have here are not just for MDs and PhDs.
Okay.
We have, if you're in the community and you're helping us, and you're helping us teach our students, why do you not have an academic appointment?
Well, look, see, I grew up in if you live in a town has less than 1,000 people, you're a village.
Right.
So I grew up in a village. There were 3 towns in our county. They were all 10 miles apart. Every kid in that whole county went to one campus, first through 12th grade. There was one doctor there for that I remember, about 3 or 4 years, and we didn't even have a doctor. So I understand, and I'm really, I can appreciate helping people who need medical care. I love to do that.
And the other thing we want to do is I want first generation medical students.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you why. First of all, we can help resolve a problem. First generation Nevadan kids are going to stay.
Yeah.
Because they're the first ones in their family to earn generational wealth. I mean, I'm not talking Bill Gates, but you know what? You could buy a house. You could afford to pay for your kids' college, and you carry that on in generation. They're hardworking, and we're working with very early stages with Nevada State University, so that we have a program now at the dental school where you can come in after your third year at NSU.
Yeah.
Or directly into pharmacy, and a master's program to get you into dental school. We want to do the same thing in medical school. That way I could take a first-generation kid after their third year of college, give them a master's and an undergraduate degree. Now they have 2 marketable degrees. And the beauty of all that is, so as a first-generation kid, they're going, that's great. He wants to be a doctor. Maybe he doesn't want to be a doctor.
Right.
Maybe she wants to be a dentist. Maybe she wants to be a nurse.
Right.
Maybe she wants to be, a pharmacist.
Right.
You have all those options available to you.
Right.
Everybody in this country should have the same opportunities.
Exactly.
And that's what we're going to do. Oh, this is great.
And it's an interest of mine. Even though I was in education, in grad school, I took kinesiology, physiology. I love those classes. I love those classes in medicine. I know you're not serious.
I'm very serious.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm going to say this publicly right now too. You're going to have to speak to my med students.
I'd love to.
Okay, because they need to learn. They need to learn the values that you have, the reason for doing these things, and the importance of all that.
I'd love to.
And
that's what I do.
They can also learn how to dress appropriately. Just you're pretty dapper. So, okay, this actually came out better than just a show.
It did.
This is incredible. A person I have admired from a distance, and I got to meet this morning before the show.
Yeah,
has known about our program.
Oh yeah,
and
exactly.
Mr. Wendell Phillips Williams.
Exactly. My pleasure.
It is an honor to have you here, have you on our campus, to have you on this podcast. Listen to what he said, folks. Let's make this world better. And we make it better starting with each other and the person that's right next to us.
Right.
And let's never forget those values. And like I said, let's do things here in Vegas, like as you have done, and get rid of that old saying that what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Right.
What happens in Vegas, we want the world to
know. Exactly.
Because we do it right. And with that, I want to thank you, sir, for taking the time to come out here to be on the show, but most importantly, for everything you've done.
Thank you.
And although your parents have passed in your prayers, please let them know what a great job you did.
Absolutely.
They did. Was you. And I know your grandmother would just be beaming.
Right.
That's my grandson.
But my daughter teaches kindergarten at my school.
Oh, does she really? Oh, how cool is that?
A blessing. Yeah.
My wife my wife has 2 master's degree and she teaches elementary school.
Well, okay.
Before we end the show, we have an example here of what American should be, of what American can bring the greatness to this country. Because there's a lot of things we need to overcome. But unless we have the right basis, the right virtues, and the right reason, they don't get done.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, this is Cuba Pete. No laughing matter. Let's make our community the healthiest community in the country, the world, actually the entire universe. Let's look for that. And with that, Mr. Williams, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed today's podcast, please subscribe, like, and comment on your favorite podcast platform. If you'd like to support the groundbreaking work that Dr. Greer is doing at the Roseman University College of Medicine, please donate at the link below. Thanks for tuning in to No Laughing Matter with Cuba Pete, as together we work to unite the heart and science of healthcare to serve all in our communities. See you next time.